I personally think that is probably whether most Christians will admit it or not. I would say, and I would guess, and if I was a betting man, I would bet a lot that actually really is a big question with probably most Christians. They probably wouldn't be brave enough to admit it.
Right.
Because if they do, then they would be like, it would almost look like it's fake religion, right? Because you're just like saying the words and shaking your head going, yeah, I believe in Jesus and I have faith in him.
Welcome back to the Rheology Podcast. Rheology is a nonprofit ministry that is centered around rethinking, researching, and rediscovery, a process that dives deep into the depths of an intimate partnership with God through a concept Jesus initiated called ecclesia. We strive to cultivate an environment that is not only safe to question and seek, but also one that is founded on the truths of partnership, words of hope that were uttered from the lips of Jesus himself. So in this podcast, we'll question Christian tradition, we'll investigate God myths, and we'll listen to those who are stirring, questioning, and desperately seeking more of what God is doing in and around us each day.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Johnson with Rheology and the Rheology Podcast. We welcome you back. That guy right over there, that's Brandon, my cohort and my helpful assassin. And when we go to assassinate theology, he's right there helping
Easy.
me.
You're going to get us demonetized from YouTube.
Oh,
we're not
okay.
monetized anyway, I don't think.
Even more demonetized. How about that? Anyway, that's Brandon. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's up?
And we're here to drink some coffee or drink something like that and talk about God and questions that Brandon basically came up with when he started kind of rethinking, like, what are we doing here as Christians? And some of the questions that he came up with and thought about, and I thought maybe it might be good to share, and we've been doing that. So we're going to do that again today. Before we do that, though, this podcast is obviously an audio version through wherever you find your audio podcast, and you can listen to that there. If you are listening to it, we would love for you to like our channel and maybe comment or whatever. Reach out to us if you want to. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'd love for you to follow the channel as well on YouTube. Subscribe to it. Got any questions, make comments, whatever. That sounds great.
Throw your questions down there.
Yeah, throw your questions down there.
I'm running out of questions.
I'm solving all of your questions. It's awesome. Yeah. If you have questions, we'd love to hear those as well. Any rude or negative comments, Brandon will be handling those. So
yeah,
that's cool. Mm-hmm. Brandon, are you drinking something? I saw you drinking something. What is that?
This is not a beer.
It's death.
This is Liquid Death, cherry flavored sparkling water.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
Death. All right. I've got a little Bigelow green tea right here. I thought I'd do some green tea. I love green tea. Bigelow is my favorite. My favorite of like the store brand kind of deal, like over the store. And I thought I would just like do a little British thing here. So I got tea and I got biscuits.
I'm sure that's what they mean.
Biscuits right here.
Yeah. The M&Ms.
Tea and biscuits. M&Ms. They may not do the M&Ms. They're kind of bland. You know, they don't go real sugary.
Yeah, you got to get some,
as far as I hear.
Toast with beans on them.
Toast with beans. All right.
I think that's what they eat. No?
I don't know. You just offended a lot of British people. I know
that's
probably what's going to happen.
That's all right.
All right. What are we talking about here? What question popped out of your mind today with this?
Going to expose my ignorance again. Question for today is about faith and what it really means to believe in Jesus or have faith in Jesus, and why is that the thing on which our salvation hinges? The belief of him. Is it really just as simple as, when I think of believing in something, it's kind of like just like holding that thought in your mind. Is that really what what Jesus means when he tells us to, when he instructs us to believe in him. And so, yeah, that's the question.
Well, I mean, I personally think that is probably whether most Christians will admit it or not. I would say, and I would guess, and if I was a betting man, I would bet a lot that actually really is a big question with probably most Christians. They probably wouldn't be brave enough to admit it,
Right.
because if they do, then they would be like, then it would almost look like it's fake religion, right? Because you're just like saying the words and shaking your head, going, "Yeah, I believe in Jesus and I have faith in him," and not really knowing, are those two things the same thing?
Yeah.
Are they interchangeable? And so I think it's a big one, man. I really do. I think it's a big one because we kind of just say it and sweep it under the rug and move on, go to church and whatever.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of pastors, quite honestly, that don't really kind of have that sorted out either.
It's scary because
And
it seems like there's a lot hanging on it. You know,
yeah,
if you say you believe in Jesus, but then
yeah.
do I really?
Do I
What
really?
what does that mean?
What does that mean? So, since you brought that up, I wrote down these couple things down because I felt like these are the important things to kind of, once again, man, once again, here we go again. We have some very horrible Christian vocabulary that is about as clear as mud, and words that we're continuing to use that were coined 500 years ago. And because you're right. I mean, I think of the word belief, and obviously belief is not a religious term. It's not always associated with a religious term. I can't help, but I always have this mental picture of like Miracle on 34th Street, right?
Yeah.
We believe, right? We believe in Santa Claus. We believe in Santa Claus. And and so it's like you said, like a thought that I keep in my head. I
Yeah.
believe,
Like
and
the
it's
one that
something
always comes to my mind is, do you believe that we landed on the moon? Like that's one that comes up. Do you believe the
right,
Earth is flat? Stuff like
right,
that.
right.
Conspiracy theory type stuff.
Yeah. Yes. And I think at the very essence of that is just the word truth, right? Do we find something to be true? But then again, that can be super convoluted as well, right? Because we're talking about Santa Claus, not that there's not a Santa Claus. But right. And so we do our Christian vocabulary is so, and then we got faith. Faith is a religious term. It's almost always associated with religion, and it's that word too is super convoluted because it can also mean like if I say like, yeah, this is a faith-based
Yep.
business. It basically means it's a religious business.
Right.
Well, yeah, Brandon, he's a really good guy, and he's really strong in his faith. And it's like, well, that makes it sound like that you're really strong in what you believe, like your
Yeah.
convictions.
Very loaded term.
And yeah, yeah. And again, a loose term. It can mean, and it does mean typically a lot of different things. And again, it's just clear as mud. So, and you're right, it's kind of important.
Like the
There's a couple
most important
scriptures.
thing, probably.
Yeah, I'm going to get from here's the level of importance. First of all, Jesus like tells the disciples when they're on a boat, right, going across Sea of Galilee, and the storm comes up, and he's asleep. We all know this story. He's asleep, and the disciples are scared to death, and they go wake him up. Please, Lord, save us. And what does Jesus say? O ye of little faith. And so then you go, if so you think to yourself, oh, I didn't believe enough, right? I didn't believe enough. I need to
Yeah,
believe
like there's a
more.
scale to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Somehow I got to believe more. I'm not sure how I believe more.
Right.
Maybe I close my eyes and squint really hard. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Because if you're thinking of it as holding something in your mind, it seems like it's either a yes or no thing, not a scale.
It's a yes or no, maybe, but not a scale. But, oh, you have little faith. So therefore, You need to have more somehow. Okay. And then Matthew 17, Jesus talks about having the faith the size of a mustard seed. When
Hmm.
he sends his disciples out, the students go out, they do their deal for I don't know however long, and then eventually they come back. And then sometime after that, this guy comes up to Jesus and says, "Hey, can you help heal my daughter? Because I brought her to your disciples and they didn't do it." And the disciples wanted to know why. And he points back to faith and basically saying, again, there's a certain amount that you should be having. And here he says, listen, if you actually even just had like a mustard seed size, which makes you think in the story I just said, they didn't even have a little,
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's why it's
right?
particularly concerning, because I think he goes on to say, if you even had the faith of a mustard seed, you could tell the mountains to jump in the ocean, and they would listen to you, or something to that
Right.
effect. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's concerning because I'm not moving mountains. So does that
I'm not
mean
moving mountains.
I don't have faith, barely any faith at all?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even have a mustard seed size
Mm,
of faith. And then Hebrews 11, basically in verse 6, talks about that it's impossible to please God without it. So, yeah, it's pretty important. And if we continue to think that the word belief and the word faith are interchangeable, and that those, if we could somehow get a hold of some of that, then we'll be saved. I almost feel like it's like too much for some people to really like, wrestle with and chew on, like get it down to bite size. And so they can't get it down to bite size chew on, and they just go, well, I'll deal with that later, I guess. I'll just keep going to church and let the preacher preach or whatever. So
that
I
essentially
think
becomes their faith. This is
right,
my faith is tied up with the religious things I do.
with the religion. And I don't really understand this other stuff, but maybe the preacher will do a Bible study on it sometime, and if he knows, and we'll figure it out. So let's kind of get like a lot of stuff out of the way, and let's just go ahead and get to the punch, of everything here. Faith and the word faith and the word belief are not interchangeable. There is a procession on how this happens, and it's really honestly tied into like how we live our lives as human beings. Belief is the understanding that you have started to understand that something could be true. And then when you actually do come to the point of fully grasping that it is true, that is that is belief. Like I have something that's been presented to me, and I can choose whether I want to accept it as something I see to be true or something I see to be false and I don't want anything to do with. And
Yeah.
so, like, the first step is, and we're going to get to this too, but the first step is like hearing about something or someone telling you something, or in our generation, reading it, right? And a little teaser here, Brandon and I, and maybe Mr. Darren that we've talked with before, and maybe a fourth person, we're going to go through a whole bunch of stuff that we've seen on social media. And we're going to call this little series Facebook Theology, because there's a lot of stuff out there that people post. I mean, duh, right? A lot of stuff. And in the world of AI, it's going to be really even more hard to figure out if something's really true or not. But the bottom line is we get presented with something. We see it, we hear it, we taste it, we touch it, whatever. We use those senses, and sometimes it's just in a split second. But there is something in our brains that says whether this is true or not true. And if I believe it to be true, if I see that it's going to be true, then I start to believe that it is true, and I accept that fully, fully. If not, I delete it. Right? I put it out and it's gone. So that comes first. We get presented with it. We make a decision really quick, and then if we decide that it's true, we believe it. That is our belief. Our belief that this one specific thing actually is true, and we accept it in our lives as true. With God, since it's a relationship and not just like me touching this coffee mug and going, yeah, I can touch it, and I can hear it, and I can I guess I can smell the ceramic, taste it if I wanted to. Yep, that's a coffee mug. That's a coffee mug. But with God, God's not an inanimate object.
Right.
He's a personality. He's a being. And so it's so there's multiple levels, right? My first hurdle is I have to believe that there is a God, and
Yeah.
I have to encounter that and make a decision of whether I'm going to accept he's real or not real. Once I do that, then I start learning what God is about. And once I start learning about what God is about, then I have another decision to make of whether I believe that is true.
Yeah.
Is that true about him? And and then it just keeps going, right? Because this is the beginning of a relationship. It's just like you and your wife, meeting each other for the first time. You saw her for the first time, and you can believe very quickly she's a real human being. All right, cool. Maybe you had feelings for her, she had feelings for you, and someone told you, "Hey, she likes you," and hand you a note, circle yes or no if you like her back, and you have a decision to believe whether you're going down this road of a bunch of sequences of decisions, or whether you're going to believe to be true or not true.
I think it's an
That
important
leads to a
point
relationship.
because I think it's easy to get caught up in thinking that believing in Jesus just means believing in the historical fact that he lived and was crucified and then rose again. And then that's the extent of the belief. But I
Yeah,
think you're right. I think it's more than that. It's not just believing in those historical facts, but believing
yeah.
in who he says he is and what he says he's capable of doing and is going to do.
Well, and there are people, I've come across lots of people that believe that the moment of salvation comes when you believe. And there are scriptures where Jesus himself will say, if you believe, you will be saved.
Yeah.
But you and I both know that salvation is not about Jesus, swooping in like Superman, as we've said, and catching you from disaster and bringing you to safety. That's not what's going on.
No.
We understand that this is a healing of a relationship. So therefore, if we say those words, that belief leads to restoration, of course it does. But that's just like the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And where faith comes in, faith is a product, I'm sorry, it's a byproduct. Faith is a byproduct of a couple of different things. So let's say you and your wife, Alyssa, and Alyssa's like, cool, my name was just put on the podcast. Yeah, that's me. You and Alyssa, you start dating, and you start to believe certain things. Hey, she likes me. Well, this is cool. Hey, no, she really likes me. I really like her. Those are all belief things, belief statements. I choose to believe that, yes, this is what's happening here. This is what's happening. And this is where this is leading. Eventually, trust has to come into play for a relationship to move and grow. It just has to. I don't care if you guys are just going to be good friends. Trust has to play a part. And so once you trust one another in certain situations, that trust starts building this deeper, like, understanding that I like to call knowing. And you and I have talked about this before, that when, like, for instance, I could say, hey, I hate to say it, but Alyssa, maybe you should or should not tell Alyssa that, you got fired from your job. You would pretty much know immediately what your wife's response is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deeper knowing that only comes through time and belief and trust. Those two things continue, like, almost building this foundation for the relationship, this knowing. And so just to say that belief is the key to salvation is really kind of missing. It's a big part, and it's a continual part, but it's really the whole thing. It's leading towards restoration because this is a relationship.
And
A
so
lot
I
of
hear you
people,
use the word
yeah,
trust, and I think I'm starting to learn this, that I think this is right. I could have this wrong, but I think the word that gets translated as faith in our modern English Bibles could equally be translated as trust, essentially, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I would say it's more along the lines of knowing because knowing and faith, or the Greek word is pistis, it's really the idea that it's a byproduct of
Mm.
trust.
Oh, I see.
See, so when you believe something, and let's say, for instance, again, we're going to go back to this analogy, and there's a reason why. But you and Alyssa are dating, and she says, "Hey, do you want to get together this weekend and we'll go putt putt?" And you go, "Sure, that sounds great. Okay, cool. I'll see you at 7. All right, cool." And then so there's a belief there, right? There's a belief that she's going to show up, and you go, "Yeah, she's going to show up. She's going to show up." You don't know that, but you believe it.
Hmm.
And then you get to the putt putt place and you're waiting for her and you're waiting for her. And she shows up. You believed it to be true and you trusted it to be true. And guess what? It became true.
Yeah.
And that builds the knowing.
Yeah.
And the more that you do those kinds of things, let's say that you guys continue to date and you do these things, you start to know in your not only in your head, but in your every part of you starts to know that she keeps her word, right?
Then you end
She
up with
keeps her word.
three kids.
And then 3 kids later, you go, what the heck happened?
Glad she showed up to putt
So
putt.
she just because thanks a lot. Why couldn't you have skipped a couple of those? So you can see that it's a byproduct more than anything. It's probably really not a real good word except for knowing. It's just this deep, it's like you have a sense of something, right? And that sense is backed up by it's proven. It's proven,
Yeah.
right? By you've believed it, you've trusted it, and it happened. And and so that's where this like knowing comes from. People ask all the time. I've heard this a lot, like with faith. A lot of people say, "Well, it's a gift. It's a gift from God, right? Is
Yeah.
this a gift from God?" There's a scripture in Hebrews. I'm sorry, in Ephesians. It is Ephesians 2:8 through 9, and let me see if I have it real quick. I had it up. I don't have it anymore.
2, 8 through 9. So you said.
Yeah, 2:8 through 9. And it gets a little muddy. It gets a little muddy because Paul's kind of doing a whole thing here. But verse 8 and verse 9 are the ones that kind of get picked out of this whole little chapter. And it
You,
says, you
you want me
got
to
it?
read it? Yeah.
Yeah.
For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is a gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast.
Okay. So we see 2 words there and we go, for it's by grace that you've been saved through faith. It's not of yourselves, it's a gift of God. And we attribute faith as the gift of God.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that it's not a gift from God, but once again, I just said that it's a byproduct.
Yeah.
The reality is if we continue to like center everything, all this whole salvation thing more around the idea of healing a relationship, the God is taking the steps, the first step, and providing a
Yeah.
way for healing. That's the gift. The whole thing, that whole act of restoration is the gift. We couldn't persuade him to do it. We didn't take the first step. We weren't even interested, honestly, in restoration.
Yeah.
So that's the gift. Through faith, it's completely possible. What is possible? Salvation. Well, what's salvation? Restoration.
Hmm.
A relationship being restored because now I have a deeper knowing of God, not just a religion, not just a couple things I've learned through Sunday school or VBS or church or whatever, but an actual thriving, deeper relationship with who God really is. A courtship, like we were saying about you
Yeah.
and Alyssa. That's really what this is. So people will sometimes hear that and go, okay. Romans 10:17. This is just another thing that some people kind of go, well, okay, faith comes from hearing. And it's, we have a hard time sometimes like contexting, right? Looking at the whole context. But this is a scripture that, again, it's just a little confusing. This is Romans 10:17. You have that? You want to read that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Romans 10:17.
Yep.
All right. So faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. But I ask, have they not heard? Indeed they have, for their voice has gone out to all the earth, and their words to the ends of the world.
Okay. So again, it's like faith comes from hearing, and I've just had people like question like what does that mean? I mean, because once again, like you said earlier, it's like I need it. It's really important. I guess all I have to do is hear, and then I somehow God's going to give me this gift of faith. And so that's taken out of context, because the whole part of Romans 10 here is really talking about it's really kind of setting the stage of understanding what we got here with Jesus. What do we have here? This restoration of this relationship, and understanding what part he plays, what does righteousness mean? And I kind of talked about like the right way of living
Mm-hmm.
life. It's his, not ours. And also just talking about everyone who calls, this is Romans 10:13, just before that, it says, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Well, there's another thing that someone could pick out and go like, well, all I have to do to be saved is call out his name, or all I have to do is be saved is believe, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this scripture is just really kind of answering the question, well, how are they going to call out if they don't hear? So it goes back to what we were saying about like being presented with something, right? So this is just a scripture saying, hey, we need to go and present this truth that we know as to be true, right? We need to go present this truth to other people so they can decide for themselves if this is true. This is the first step, right?
Yeah.
They know who God is. They understand the Messiah mentality. They understand kind of about restoration, but they don't understand who Jesus is. They don't understand what role he plays, and they don't understand like the type of salvation like you and I talked about, which is, healing.
Yeah.
And so this is all about that. And it's all about getting to the point of saying, like, we have to make sure that we allow other people the opportunity to judge it for themselves, right?
Yeah.
True or not true.
This is probably a whole other episode, but kind of a related issue, and it came up when you mentioned Ephesians 2. Another related issue that I still struggle with is when Paul is saying, it is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. It's that interplay between faith and works that causes me some trouble. Because if I look at that example you gave of me and Alyssa and me showing up to putt-putt because of my belief that she would be there, it's like if that could eventually be described as some kind of a faith, then that faith is borne out through my actions. Like I acted based on my faith, and my actions were evidence of my faith. Like I wouldn't have acted that way had I not had the faith that she was going to be there. And I could
Yep.
see the same thing being applied in this context. If we truly have faith in Jesus, then we're going to act in a way, but that seems to go against Paul's saying here that no, it's not your works, it's not your actions that are the thing that are doing the work here. It's just your faith. But it seems like you can't have, well, and then it gets to the classic, faith without works is dead. So
Dead.
it's that interplay between works and faith, I think, also causes some confusion.
Which scripture is that again that you were just
So
saying?
this is Ephesians 2:8 or 2:8, 2:8 and 9. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast.
Well, but again, here, Paul is not talking about, he's not saying that the faith is a gift or works is a gift. He's actually just talking about remember, the whole idea that God wants to restore a relationship with us
Yeah.
is all initiated by him. So really it might be a better way of like actually even using our vocabulary to describe this is that it's like I think it's Hosea in the Old Testament, which is he's got a wife that keeps running out on him, and he's faithful to her. He keeps going back, keeps going back, keeps going back, and so it's literally like this idea that we have, as we've said before, we cheated on God. We cheated, and really, it probably should have been us coming back and saying, "I'm sorry," and we had ample opportunity to do that. I mean, shoot, man, you read the second half of the Old Testament, which is pretty much all the prophets. I mean, that is the reoccurring theme over and over and over and over. God is extending a hand, come back to me, come back to me, come back to me, and we never do. So then there's like the silence, right? Those 400
Yeah.
years of like nothing. And out of the nothingness, God provides a way. So just the way of restoration, just the idea of being able to heal this relationship is all initiated by God. So that's what it's saying. Like, there's nothing that you did on your own, and it doesn't come by, like, as we've said before, like, God's not pleased by us trying to do things for him,
Yeah.
right? We can't go and do all kinds of sacrifices to manipulate him. He is
Yeah.
not that kind of God. He's holy. He's unique. We don't sacrifice because he's angry and we hope that he won't be as angry because look at what we did. God's not compelled by that. He's compelled by love. So the whole idea of restoration and just trying to fix and heal this relationship was his idea.
Yeah.
So that's really what that's saying. Faith and works, you're absolutely right. Those two things are like a bicycle pedals, right? I'm going to believe. That's a work.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe.
Yeah,
I'm going to believe. I'm
right.
going to trust this. I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust this. What happened? It's faith. Faith. Oh man, look what happened. I believed and it was awesome. I'm going to believe again. Oh, here's another opportunity to believe again. And I believe. I work. This is a relationship. It's not like the other gods where all I have to do is a work and it pleases him.
Yeah.
No, there is knowing involved. There isn't pistis involved with the other gods. There isn't. Those other gods are not real. Those other gods they're not personalities. They're not beings. There is no relationship to be had. It's dualism, as we said before.
Yeah.
That God exists there, we exist down here, and every once in a while we'll do things to keep him from being so ticked off he's going to destroy everything. No,
Yeah.
our God wants a relationship where it's like you and Alyssa or me and Robin, where it is those two things going on and on. I can't just be in a relationship with my wife without some sort of work or without some sort of effort. Maybe we should say it that way.
Yeah.
Effort.
I heard, I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this. I heard Tim Mackey of the Bible Project giving a talk on faith, and he talked about it a lot in also as similar to the idea of trust. But the example or the analogy he gave was a situation where you're cooped up all winter and at the first sign of spring coming, maybe it's a real sunny day or something, you may have the inclination to, put on your shorts and t-shirt and go outside, even though it may still be 40 degrees out. But you're doing that with a knowledge from past experience and a trust that summer is coming. And so you're acting in a way that may seem strange to outside observers, but you're doing so premised on a trust of what you know to be reality that's coming.
Yeah.
And he kind of likened that to faith in Jesus, that it's not so much that we're working to get our salvation, but the things that we're doing, the actions that we're taking are reflective of our trust and faith in Jesus. And so I think that's kind of what, is it in James where he says faith without works is dead? I can't remember where specifically, but I think that's kind of what it's getting at. It's not so much that God is expecting us to work for his grace. It's that the byproduct, as you say, of our faith should be fruits of the Spirit, these actions that are evidence of the faith. Because I think that's my biggest concern is I'm inclined to want to audit myself. Do I have this faith that's required? And it's like, what evidence do I have of this faith other than just my outward actions? And so I guess that's kind of where I end up.
My first thought is like, I think that's actually a really good place to be. Not that you audit yourself all the time, because that's really not the point of like, because you can get quickly into like, am I doing enough?
Yeah, right.
Am I doing all the right things? And, but any like marriage counselor would tell you that it's like impossible to have a healthy marriage if you're not self-aware of the role you play. And I think that's probably, we talk about marriage all the time because that's what this is. We've said that a bunch. It really, really is. It is a marriage. And I think I equate it to like when I was in sixth grade. I used to speak on this when I was in youth ministry, and I did it whenever we were in Fortville together. But I would use this analogy a lot. Like there was this girl, when I was in sixth grade, she was in fifth grade. She was cute as can be, super cute, brunette, big brown eyes, little freckles. I just thought she was just about it. Her name is Carol Ross. Carol, if you're out there, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. So, I did the whole thing, right? I stuck a note in her locker. I'm sorry. No, I didn't do that. I had a friend stick a note in her locker, and
she didn't show up to putt-putt.
She didn't show up putt-putt. We didn't have a putt-putt place in Bedford, okay. But, circle yes or no. She circled yes, and I got it in my locker. And so we went together. That was the little phrase at that point. We went together. Boyfriend, girlfriend went together. Did I ever talk to her? No. Did I ever hang out with her? No. Did I do anything with her? No. Were there any signs to anybody but me and her that we were actually going together?
Yeah.
No. That is not a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But also me doing everything and her doing nothing, that's not a relationship.
Yeah.
A relationship is give and take. And you're absolutely right that every time that you take a step, and we call it a leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And I also want to say too, like because we use these terminologies of faith, and a lot of times, like, and just not in the religious context. Well, maybe I don't know, maybe in the religious context, like faith is interchangeable with hope. Well, I hope.
Yeah.
Just have faith. Take a leap of faith. I don't really know, but I want to take a leap of faith. No, that's trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's trust. I'm deciding that this is true, and I'm deciding to believe it, and I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to decide to trust here. And
I'm going to stake my life potentially on this trust.
Yeah. I'll stake something on it, right? No matter
My
what, I'll stake
livelihood,
something.
yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
Livelihood, my time, money, whatever it is. And when that actually, when it happens, or when it comes true, or when it's validated, or however you want to call that, like, yes, inside now you have this, like, I understand this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I look at it like, and it just drives one another, those pedals. And I really do feel like, the for me, the best way I've been able to, like, really kind of explain it to me, because I mean, dude, a couple of years ago, I had to sit down and go, I gotta get this thing worked out, because I'm starting to, like, run on sentences, and I'm making no sense to myself and nobody else.
Mhm.
And when I started deep diving, I started going, oh, okay, it is a deeper knowing.
Yeah.
It's as if somebody came and gave me bad news, and I'm going to call my wife, and I already know what she's going to say. That's pistis.
Yeah.
That is pistis. Why and how did that come about? It came about through investment, mutual investment, give and take, trust, belief in one another. And the byproduct of all that is faith. And that just keeps going over and over and over. My wife and I have 31 years of pistis, of faith. And that it doesn't happen overnight, and it isn't a one-way street, and it's not a no-way street either. Not, I'm just declaring I have a marriage. It doesn't work that way. So it has to have all those elements involved. And again, at the very core of it, salvation is not Jesus swooping in to save the day. It's Jesus coming and providing healing for a broken relationship.
I think one of the things I'm taking some comfort in is looking back at some of the stories of the heroes of the faith. So, like Abraham, if you look in, this was a verse that stood out to me in Genesis 15:6, where it's talking about Abraham. And obviously, if anybody knows the story of Abraham, he had his ups and downs. But in Genesis 15:6, it says, and he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness. And so I think that's encouraging to folks like me that are seeing my ups and downs and thinking this faith is not sufficient to land me where I want to land. If you look back at folks like Abraham, that their belief in God and their decision to follow him, even though they were flawed in many instances, was counted to him as righteousness.
Yes. And what is righteousness? It's
Doing right.
being right
Right.
living, being
Yeah.
right in right relationship with God. And even with Abraham, like, a lot of people can't get over he's going to sacrifice Isaac.
Hmm.
What? Abraham went through with it. Why? Because he had pistis. He knew God, and he knew that he wasn't going to have to kill his son,
Hmm.
because that's not the kind of God we have. That's not him. And so this is Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11, we'll end on this. But Hebrews 11 says, where am I here? 11:1, and
Now,
it says, now faith, yeah, do it. Yeah, go for it.
now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
Okay. So some of that's not translated very well. I'm sorry, whoever translated it, but it's just not. Um, so faith, we said, was pistis, and we know that it's knowing, or it's a deeper knowing, right? It's a deeper knowing of who God is, of God. And the assurance right there is, a Greek word, hupostas, which means foundation.
Hmm.
Means foundation. And then the other word that's in there, it's the foundation of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Or what did your version say?
Yeah, the conviction of things not
The
seen.
conviction of things not seen. Well, the word conviction there is elehas, which means proof.
Hmm.
So it really should read like this, and this will be a way where we can stop. Knowing God, pistis, is the foundation of everything we've ever hoped for. The proof of things that have been hidden and out of sight. That's the solution of the great mystery of our existence. What is knowing God? That's it. knowing God. Pistis.
From the whole Rheology team, we hope these podcasts are encouraging and educational. Rheology exists for three main reasons: to reach, train, and equip those who want to go deeper with God in this partnership called ecclesia. If God has been stirring in your heart, where you are wondering if there's more than what you've been experiencing in today's 21st century Christianity, we'd love to connect with you, to hear your story and help you know that you are not alone. You can simply contact us via the website, rheologylife.com, or reach out via Instagram, @rheology_life. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.